one-timer wide. Puck comes to Rabada, scores! What an important win for the Vancouver Canucks against a team that has had their number for longer than the Canucks care to remember. But they get it done on the road.
Their first victory in 6 at the Staples Center started a 3-game winning streak for the Canucks last month, which is exactly how they want to finish off the season at home. A win tonight and some help from the Wild could clinch a return to the playoffs after taking last year off.
The long wait is over. After 45 years, the Kings can wear their crown. The Los Angeles Kings have won the Stanley Cup.
They score! Alec Martinez gets the goal. The Los Angeles Kings have won the Stanley Cup.
The Kings have been battling to get back to the playoffs and know that they just need to get in, and anything can happen. Can the defending Cup champ steal the show, or will the Canucks dethrone the Kings? It's the Kings and Canucks right now.
No playoffs in Vancouver last year after so many with them, and tonight feels like the unofficial start of it. A couple things the Canucks could accomplish. One, they could get in tonight, depending how it shakes down. They could also bury the Kings, or at least try to avoid them in the first round. I'm Brad Fay. Another night of Canucks hockey on Sportsnet. Scott Morrison, Corey Hirsch are standing by, but we go right to Rogers Arena where Dan Murphy is. And Dan, the Canucks come home the third best road record in the NHL, but that's all done now. Won't help them the rest of the way.
No question, Brad. Plenty of playoff implications in this game. The Canucks know if they win, they're almost in. It could happen this evening. As for the Kings, if they win in regulation, they know the Canucks can't catch them if they win in, and that would likely mean home ice in the first round of the playoffs. The bad news Saturday in Winnipeg, the Canucks lost. The good news, the first line was heating up again. Alex Burrows is starting to score 4 goals in his last 4 games after just 4 in his previous 25 games. Another good goaltending matchup for you. Eddie Lack was good on March 21st to defeat the Kings at Staples Center, but Jonathan Quick has owned the Canucks of late. 6-2 in his last 8 with a save rate of .958. It should be fun, Brad.
Absolutely, and I mentioned that third best road record for the Canucks. One of the things they wanted to establish, also wanted to be better at home. 3 more games to improve on that. Marian Gabourik's been great. 7 of the last 8 against Vancouver. When he scores, the Kings win. As for the Canucks, same lineup the other day with the exception of Kennans back in for Sven Berchi on the left wing with Horvat and Hansen. The aforementioned Scott Morrison and Corey Hirsch alongside now, and we talk about quick starts for the Canucks, no pun intended, with Jonathan Quick, but the Canucks have gotten down 2-0 on several occasions, able to come back against this team, maybe pushing your luck a little bit.
Yeah, you're tempting the fates to give them a lead, and especially the way the Kings have played and how good Quick has been for them. So Vancouver's got to get better. You don't want to be chasing every night. As we mentioned in the pregame, they have to tighten up a little bit defensively, giving up a lot of shots, giving up a lot of goals, and because LA prides itself on being a possession team, so much of it starts in the face-off circle where they've been outstanding, and conversely, the Canucks have not been very good. Just the 36% in the circle against Winnipeg on Saturday afternoon. So those are areas they have to be better at.
Well, for the Canucks, when you have poor starts as a team, it's because you're waiting to see what the other team's going to do. Don't wait. Go out, dictate the play. Make them play to your pace.
Kings have won 7 of the last 9 between these teams, but the last matchup, the Canucks did that. They dictated one of their great efforts, and they got to Jonathan Quick, albeit with a couple empty netters at the end.
Yeah, they did. And tonight with Eddie Lack, he's going to have to play a little bit better. Now, with Jonathan Quick, he's obviously one of the most talented goalies in the National Hockey League. They're going to have to kind of move it around him to score on him. He's such a good skater, and he's such a good player, and he's so talented that you really have to work the puck around him. 2 areas that you can score on him, other areas, low blocker and 5-hole. He's below league averages there. Look for that tonight.
And the Canucks felt in that game that they had a strong grind game. They had a strong forecheck. They're a little more physical, and they also had 42 shots, which doesn't hurt and doesn't happen often against Los Angeles.
Well, the Canucks could clinch tonight depending on what happens elsewhere, which we'll keep you up to date on. But most importantly for them is trying to find a way to beat the LA Kings again. To Rogers Arena when we come back, John Shorthouse, John Garrett, and Dan Murphy standing by.
Hands up, everyone who didn't think this was going to come down to the final week of the NHL season. The push for the playoffs in the Western Conference. And unfolding pretty much as everyone thought it would. The Canucks and the Kings, their 5th and final meeting of the year, with Vancouver trying to make it 2 in a row against their rivals from Los Angeles. Starting goalies brought to you by Tim Hortons, the official coffee of the NHL. Consecutive start number 18 for Jonathan Quick of the Kings. Conn Smythe winner in 2012. He started 35 of the last 36 since mid-January. Speaking of mid-January, that was the last time Eddie Lack lost consecutive games in regulation before this past weekend. He and his teammates look to snap that streak here tonight. Justin Williams was last year's Conn Smythe winner. This year, his team just trying to claw its way into the postseason derby. And will this be the night Henrik Sedin gets assist number 700? He's at .699, and he wins the opening faceoff, allowing Vancouver to control the puck. Daniel Sedin chops it into the LA zone. Quick leaves for Muzzin, who passes up the middle. Here's Anze Kopitar with a long feed for Williams, knocked down by Kevin Bieksa. But Williams gets the puck back, finds Drew Doughty. Offside was Kopitar. And the whistle blows. Now Doughty and Burrows come together after initially Bieksa ran into Doughty after the whistle.
These games always are fun games. Los Angeles and Vancouver don't like each other. Everyone's a challenge. A little push Burrows on Anze Kopitar. And then Doughty came in. How many minutes will Drew Doughty play in this one?
Yes. A lot. Sorry, I didn't really answer your question.
No, you did.
Starting to develop your speech patterns.
Oh, no.
Here's Robin Regehr blasting one off his stick, and that goes up over the glass. Another whistle, 24 seconds into the hockey game.
Darryl Sutter really working on his team shutdown game against Colorado, only 10 shots against, but against Vancouver in Los Angeles last time they played, 42 shots for the Vancouver Canucks.
Nick Bonino out for the face-off against Jarrett Stoll, who wins it. Robin Regehr wrists the puck here. Stoll's 3rd game back. He missed 9 after the hit by Derek Dorsett here at Rogers Arena. He feeds back into his own zone, and Regehr controls, passing to Alec Martinez, the Stanley Cup final hero of a year ago. Puck played into the Vancouver zone. Trevor Lewis hustles to it, puts it in front. Lack with a save on Dustin Brown, who was open in front. And the Kings a good chance to open the scoring on that one. The Canucks have surrendered the opening goal in 26 of their last 35 games. And Lack had to be sharp and tight to stop that one. Here's Tyler Toffoli. Got a 5-minute major and a game misconduct last time these teams hooked up for the hit on Alex Burrows. Carter with a centering pass. They score! Dwight King, a minute 13 in, and it's 1-0 Los Angeles.
And you can see Willie Desjardins shaking his head as the Dustin Brown chance, very similar to this one. Going to the net hard. Carter goes wide on Dan Hamhuis, and Chris Tanev just can't handle his man going to the net. Can't tie up his stick. Carter goes wide, just slides it out in front, and Chris Tanev's in good position, but doesn't have the stick tied up. And King just tips it by Eddie Lack.
And so the disturbing trend of starts to games continues for Vancouver. Down a goal, just over a minute in.
Jeff Carter has 4 points in his previous 2 games. Hard around Dan Hamhuis, nice pass out, and King out-muscled Chris Tanev to get to the net.
Ronald Kennan's back in the Vancouver lineup, replacing Sven Baertschi. And he's onto the ice for his first shift, along with Bo Horvat and Jannik Hansen. Tanev shoots one around. Hansen couldn't move it out, but now Horvat's onto the puck. Moving in on Muzzin. Horvat trying to go to the net. Gets the puck again in the corner. Hansen in deep, trying to come up with the puck. King plays it into the middle. Toffoli is there. And he'll delay before sending one ahead to Jeff Carter. He moves in over the Vancouver line. Drop pass down. He wrist shot, blocked, loose puck. Lack trying to cover, and he does, with King right there looking for his second in short order.
Oh boy, the Kings are going hard to the net, and the Canucks are going to have to battle. They battled harder last game against the Kings. Now, you've got position. You just can't let the Kings get to the net. Nice shot by Doughty. All he's trying to do is just get it to the crowd in front. And there's King again with Chris Tanev.
Not 2 minutes in, and the shots are already 5-0 LA. Kevin Bieksa Starts from behind his net, passes to Lucas Spiza, ahead for Daniel Sedin, who tips the puck into the Kings zone. Quick out of his goal. Gets the puck past Burrows. Now Williams finds Kopitar, and LA has room to skate at center. Bieksa breaks up that pass. And Burrows comes back quickly for the Canucks. Henrik Sedin is injured. He's gone to the Vancouver bench, clutching his face. Burrows from behind the net, centers. Quick was able to block it. Lyndon Vey replaced Henrik Sedin when he was shaken up moments ago. Vey's onto the puck. Feeding one in deep. Martinez clears that away. And the puck is down into Vancouver territory, with both teams changing in the neutral zone. Looks like the Canuck captain's going to be okay. Might have been clipped by his stick. Here's Lucas Spiza in his own zone. Delay before making a play. Almost lost the puck. Vey's onto it. He finds Yannick Weber. Ahead to center. Sean Mathias moves in on the left wing. Shakes off a check. Gets to the corner. Now round behind the goal. Big pile up in front as Dorsett went hard to the goal. Here's Hamhuis wristing one towards net, blocked by Jordan Nolan, and here comes LA. 3 Kings through center. Nolan slows, checked by Mathias, and the Canucks break back. Benino in on the left wing. Centering pass is out of the reach of Dorsett, who goes after the puck on the side, tries to throw it in front, and that was blocked. Nolan clears the zone. Hamhuis goes back for the punt. Here's Benino in again. Throws one across for Radim Vrbata. Muzzin checks in. Tanev holds the puck in the zone. Vrbata around for Benino. That was cut off by Doughty. And he slides the puck to the far corner. Kings get it ahead. Wow, the skates of Brown came up as he fell down. Tanev was there. Now here's Stolen with a slap shot. The glove saved by Eddie Lack, who hangs on.
You can see Henrik Sedin. Mike Bernstein came over and he's checking his face. There's the high stick right there, undetected.
Like Regeer got him right with the tip of the blade. Face off in the Vancouver zone. Horvat against Carter. And Bo Horvat wins the draw. Turned 20 years old yesterday. Fine rookie for the Canucks. Here's Kennins. Down the left wing. Ronnie Kennins with a shot. Big rebound after it is Hansen and just cleared away before he could get to it. Back comes Tyler Toffoli. Moving in on Edler. Toffoli slows, centers, knocked away by Tanev and out to neutral ice. Kings play the puck back in. Edler has it. Lead pass, Bieksa. Fresh off the bench. Down the left wing with a centering pass, blocked by Quick. Henrik Sedin gets the rebound. He plays it around for Bieksa again. Here's Henrik Sedin. Down for Daniel. Pass to Henrik. Hansen's in front as he stayed out to play it with the Sedins here. Daniel from behind the goal. Round for Henrik again. Spiza moves in from the point. Pass went off the heel of his stick. Bieksa will hustle and try to hold the puck in. Kopitar intercepts ahead to Williams. Regeer just able to get it to Martinez before he was checked, and Kopitar moves through center. Gets by Bieksa, but Spiza's there to check it in the corner. Just past the 5-minute mark, first period, 1-0 Los Angeles. Muzzin for Kopitar, cycles to Williams. Blue line feed, Jake Muzzin. Right point, Drew Doughty. He passes one towards the back of the goal. Henrik Sedin trying to break it up. But the Kings still have the puck. Williams to Brown, and he ripped it over top of the goal. Muzzin, wrist one on goal. Rebound attempt, trickles through to Lack. And after making the initial stop, he's able to cover the puck in the crease.
Last time these guys met was March 21st. Obviously, the biggest play in that game was the 5-on-3 goal by Vrbata, the game winner. But the Canucks felt like they made a step against the Kings because they didn't back down from the Kings. They certainly didn't bully LA, but LA, which had taken it to physically to Vancouver so often this last couple of years, didn't really get a chance to in that hockey game.
Boy, in this game, there hasn't been a whole lot of pushback from the Canucks, and that's something they have to do, especially around their own net. That last play, Justin Williams standing there whacking away at a rebound.
Shots now 6-2 Los Angeles. And here's Brown moving in, trying to go through the defense. Penalty coming up to Weber, who was able to knock the puck away. But he's going to get called on the play, and now we have a scrum in front of the Vancouver goal after the stoppage for the penalty to Yannick Weber.
Dustin Brown right down the middle. Little grab by Yannick Weber.
So the Kings up a goal, get the game's first power play at 5:52 of the opening period.
Corey and Scott were talking about setting the tone of the game, especially at home, and it's been LA who set the tone early here.
Setting the tone for the week, really.
Yes.
For the Canucks, who've lost their last two here in this building.
LA's lost their last two road games and really set the tone early.
Doughty to the left point to Muzzy. Power play Los Angeles. Gaborik tried to center. That was blocked by Tanev, but he's able to get the puck around to Kopitar. Drew Doughty to Anze Kopitar. Edler watching him. Pass comes down to Gaborik. Doughty open in front. Kopitar looking there. Now sends it across. Doughty slap shot. Swallowed up by Eddie Lack. And he hangs on for the whistle.
Canucks Hockey. Brought to you by Subway. Build your own comfort at Subway with a heartwarming ham melt and tomato basil soup combo. Subway. Eat fresh.
Eddie Lack saw that one all the way and made the easy save with no rebound.
Here's Muzzin at the line. Now Gaborik with a shot, and that's off a Canuck stick and over the glass for a whistle.
Does Marian Gaborik remind you of Radim Vrbata? The way he shoots the puck and always gets it away quickly, hard for the goaltender to read.
26 goals this year. He's only played 65 games. And look what he's done against the Canucks. Gaborik sends one across for Doughty. Minute 20 to go in the Los Angeles power play. Kopitar. The Exo watching him. Pass comes down low. Gaborik tried to get it in front to Carter. Broken up nicely by Lucas Spiza, who sends the puck down the ice. And Hughes and Edler come out for Vancouver. Mathias and Hansen up front of the penalty killing role as Doughty brings the puck out. Ahead to Williams. And Hughes pressures him, steals the puck. And he sends it all the way down. Here's a steal by Henson, and he ripped it wide. Gunning for Vancouver's 7th shorthanded goal of the year. And his second. 25 seconds to go in the LA power play. Brown trying to come up with the puck behind the goal. Feeds it back. Martinez fakes the shot. Finds some room. Lets it go. And a glove save by Lack, who had to peer through the screen of Tyler Toffoli in front.
Well, you could tell from Jonathan Quick's reaction that he wasn't ready for this one. Justin Williams right to the middle, and the wrist shot goes wide, and Quick reacts. And Eddie Lack this time through the screen, able to find it. Toffoli there right in front of him.
8-2 the shots for the Kings. They've had a couple on this power play. 15 seconds to go on the penalty to Yannick Weber. Tanev gets the puck behind the goal, makes no mistake. Brown took a run at him, and Dustin Brown is slow to get up. Tanev gets the puck at center. Brown stays on the ice for now as the puck is ripped in by Spiza. And Weber's out of the box and heads straight to the bench. LA 0 for 1 on the power play, still leading 1-0. And a whistle at the LA blue line. We'll take a break. Kings with the opening goal just over a minute in. Brown's team leads by 1.
This morning after the Kings morning skate, Jared Stoll was asked about the Canucks game plan on March 21st of perhaps going a little harder at Jonathan Quick than the Canucks usually do and getting in his face and making him angry. He said, yes, we talked about it already today. We're well aware of it, and we'll give it as good as we get it. As for getting Quick angry and using that as a game plan, he says go ahead. He feels like Quick, with his competitive nature, actually dials things in when he's angry.
I don't know about that. I think you can get him off his game. He has got a temper, and if he's not focused on stopping the puck, it's an advantage to anybody playing against him.
He watches that one bounce wide of the goal as Hughes launched one in from center. Daniel Sedin holds the line. Here's Burrows. Back to Weber. Long shot deflected by Henrik Sedin wide of the goal. Kings chip the puck ahead. Hughes holds it in, but it just came out. And the whistle blows on the offside call.
Henrik Sedin is so good, so talented. Here's a shot. It's about shoulder high. That would have been interesting. It's off his leg and just misses the net. Well, Jonathan Quick has been the guy for the LA Kings now for so many years, and especially against the Canucks.
It's amazing. His overall record against Vancouver is .500. But with a goals against average of 1.75, he's 12-12-1.
Well, his record this year, it's unbelievable how good he's been in Los Angeles and not so good on the road. And usually with him, he's pretty consistent no matter where they play, but the Kings as a team have not been very good on the road. They're under .500.
Leading 1-0 in this one, nearing the 9-minute mark of the first period. Centering pass to Foley, just missed the net. Trying to go against the grain on Eddie Lack. Edler falls down, but able to hook the puck to Bonino, who headmans to Higgins. Rink wide for Bata, dumps the puck in. Green being watched by Higgins. Turns in the corner, slides one up. Intercepted, Spies over the drive, and a glove saved by Quick, who saw it all the way.
Well, because the Kings turned that puck over so directly to Lucas Spiza, there was absolutely no traffic in front. Chris Higgins is starting to go, but has no chance to get there before Quick has that shot. And there you see the difference, almost a quarter of a goal difference in that save percentage.
2 of his 13 road wins in this building. Spiza wrists one on goal. Quick reacting a little late, maybe expecting a deflection, and he grabs the puck again.
Kings do such a good job boxing out in front of their goaltender, and there Robin Regeer had Derek Dorsett to the side. That shot from the point. Normally Dorsett would be right in front, but no chance to get there. Robin Regeer has the angle, holds him out, and Quick no problem making the save.
Regeer has the puck, and he plays it off the glass. Kings force it to center. Here's Kevin Bieksa launching it back in, and that goes out of play in the corner for another whistle.
This period brought to you by Toyota Red Tag Days. Hurry into your local Toyota dealer for great offers on many 2015 models.
Game number 80 for Kevin Bieksa's Canucks, looking to end a 2-game losing streak after winning back-to-back in St. Louis and Nashville, dropping games in Chicago and Winnipeg. Dan Hughes in deep. Jannik Hansen with some room. Centers Horvat right into the crest of Jonathan Quick's jersey. Horvat would have liked better placement on that one, but a nice setup from Jannik Hansen.
Well, Bo Horvat just trying to get it away as quickly as he possibly could. And Jonathan Quick, Corey talked about how aggressive Quick is, and watch where he ends up on this shot by Horvat. Just almost at the top of the crease, even though it was a bang-bang play.
Would have been a nice late birthday present for Bo Horvat, who's 8 without a point. But a good chance there, and the Canucks are up to 6 shots in a hockey game and coming on a little bit here. Henrik Sedin against Kopitar, who kicks the puck to the corner. Jake Muzzin slides it to the side, and Gaborik starts out slowly. Doughty going to launch one for Gaborik to chase after. It was up in the air. Gaborik tried to glove it down, played away from him by Yannick Weber. And here's Daniel Sedin to Burrows. Puck knocked off his stick, then Doughty put the hip into Burrows. Fans argue for an interference call. Puck's on top of the net, and they'll blow it down. Now Burrows and Williams. And Alex Burrows has been active after the whistles in this first period.
Well, Alex Burrows thought he was interfered with after that shoot-in. Puck goes into the corner, and he's got a case there. Drew Doughty stuck the hip out. Canucks almost got a bounce. That puck just caught the top of the crossbar and stayed in behind Jonathan Quick instead of rolling over.
Now they've opted to bring the face-off outside the blue line. Further consternation for the Canucks.
Talking it over.
I guess they're trying to determine who put the puck on top of the net. I think it was one of the Sedins trying to flip it out front. Here's Jake Muzzin. Pass off the skate of Carter, who chases in on Alex Edler. So Foley intercepts along the boards. Tanev takes the puck away. Starts out with a pass to Chris Higgins. Verbata on the right wing at center. Moves in, bounces one in on Quick, and did well to not give up a rebound there with Tanev cruising towards the goal. We're just over halfway through the first, and it's 1-0 LA.
Well, Drew Doughty says the Kings don't have their sights set just on making the playoffs. They want home ice in that first round, starting with a win this evening against the Vancouver Canucks, and they could do it too, because with a win against Vancouver, they would hold their destiny against the Canucks at least by winning out, and they still have one game remaining against the Calgary Flames, who are currently ahead on the standing. So making the playoffs not enough for the Kings, guys. They want home ice.
Winnipeg's leading 2-0 in Minnesota late in the third.
Drew Doughty, 29 minutes a game, 146 hits and 140 block shots.
He's good.
Yes.
There's a bouncer on Lack who gave up a rebound, but Tanev there to gobble it up. He loses the puck. Kopitar shovels it along to Williams. Back to Muzzin. Long shot hit Gaborik and went wide. Here's Muzzin again with room. Chips the puck to Gaborik. Down for Williams. Doughty, wrist shot, bounces wide off a body in front. Kings top line against the Horvat line, and they're owning the puck in the Vancouver zone. Kopitar, gives it away to Hansen. Lead pass for Cannons. That didn't work, and both teams will change with just under 9 minutes to go in the first. Drew Doughty. Up the left side, Jarrett Stoll moves in. Back for Doughty. Lewis is in front. There's the pass off his skate. And Sean Mathias comes out with the puck and dumps it ahead. Bieksa up on the play, and he'll chase in on Braden McNabb. Doughty still out there. Passes to Trevor Lewis. Bay was upended, the former King, and here comes Lewis to center, wristing the puck in. Bieksa tried to reverse, but he missed it from behind the goal. Dustin Brown comes up the near side. Brown for Lewis. Working on Vey. Now Dorsett tries to knock the puck away. Stoll from behind the net. Spees is on him. 8 minutes to go in the first. Wraparound attempt on the backhand. And Lack made a left pad save on Lewis. Now a wrist shot by McNabb. And Lack gets the glove on that one. And gets a whistle as Dorsett and McNabb have words by the Vancouver bench. Murph.
Let's remind everyone to play Safeway's $1 million score and win. If any Vancouver player scores 5 goals in tonight's game, John Post of Castlegar could win $1 million.
Kings doing what they do best, controlling the boards. That shift, Canucks really had trouble.
Sedin line out against the fourth line for Los Angeles. Face off in the Vancouver zone. Nick Shore battling for the puck off the draw. Burrows able to backhand it out to center. Robin Regeer plays it forward, picked up by Weber and across to Hamhuis. He sends one in off Martinez, and back goes Regeer. Burrows is on him and gives him a pretty good jolt in the corner. Martinez ahead to Jordan Nolan. And here's Robin Regeer back up and fine. Ahead for Shore. They say he didn't touch that one. It looked like he got his stick on it. But it's called icing, and the faceoff will come back into the LA zone.
Canucks make the change. Alex Burrows on Robin Regeer, different weight class. Burrows takes him into the boards, but ends up on the ice himself. About 30 pounds different.
Benino comes out with Higgins and Verbata and draws it back to Verbata. Shot attempt blocked. Martinez gets the puck ahead to Clifford. Taken away by Weber. And now Verbata feeds Weber inside the Vancouver blue line ahead to Benino. Verbata moves in on the left wing. Wrist shot off a stick and then off the glove of Jonathan Quick. Nick Shore trying to move the puck out. Dwight King there as well, and they're able to bounce it past Tanev and out to center. Under 7 minutes to go in the first. 1-0 LA. Dwight King scored the goal, 1:13 in. Benino couldn't negotiate that pass. And here's Drew Doughty. Jeff Carter takes his feed and moves in. Toffoli tried to drag one around Edler. Battle for the puck in the corner. They work it back to King. In deep for Carter. Gets the puck to Toffoli, who tried to center. Tanev takes it away. Up the boards and out. Kennins trying to find the puck. Does. Backhands it in, and Hansen moves in on the forecheck. Carter went down to the neutral zone, and he looks for a number as he gets up and heads to the bench. Here's Doughty to Kopitar. In on the right wing. Anze Kopitar across. Gaborik couldn't find the net. Kennins trying to move the puck out. Bieksa throws a hit on Kopitar, and here comes Vancouver. Hansen in on the left wing. Looking in front. Yannick Hansen leads for Spiza. He shoots. And that hit a body in front. Might have hit Horvat in the back as he was battling McNabb. Although I think it's McNabb had hit because he's limping to the bench. Lyndon Vey, weak pass attempt in his own zone, but Bieksa able to work it to the corner to Spiza. 5.5 to go in the first. Here's Vey through center. Leaves for Matthias. Takes a look. Centers, and Dorsett taken down. There'll be a penalty. Robin Regeer is going to head up. As Dorsett was reaching to try to take that feed in front. He couldn't get the goal, but he'll get his team a power play, and it's Jarrett Stoll, heading to the box.
Did you know you can become a Canucks season ticket member for as low as $59 a month after deposit? Memberships for next season available now, starting with 11-game ice packs. Visit Canucks.com/membership for details.
Jarrett Stoll sits in the penalty box. He was coming back on Derek Dorsett, had position, but then almost hooked Dorsett down. Ends up with the interference penalty.
Kings failed on their first power play. Canucks an opportunity here to tie the game with their inaugural man advantage. And Vancouver 8 for 23 in the last 9 games, moving up into a tie for 12th in the NHL rankings. But again, they can't win possession off the draw. They'll have to start from their own zone. Henrik Sedin to Radim Verbata. Weber at the right point. 5 minutes to go in the first. Canucks looking to equalize. Verbata and Daniel Sedin in close quarters. Puck sent around to Henrik. Daniel Sedin. Back to Weber. Here's Verbata. Wrist shot off a stick and out of play. And there'll be a face-off with 1:23 to go in the Jarrett Stoll penalty. Canucks power play brought to you by Subway. Build your own comfort at Subway with a heartwarming ham melt and tomato basil soup combo. Subway, eat fresh.
Well, guess whose stick that was? Drew Doughty. I mean, you watch him play, and a lot of defensemen like Suter in Minnesota who play one area of the game or the other they're really good in, but Doughty is good in every area.
Here's Carter shorthanded with a wrist shot. Left pad saved by Lapp. And the Canucks take the puck back. Tyler Toffoli out there leads everybody with 5 shorthanded goals this season. Nick Benino. Checks, holding the line is Tanev. And he's reaching for the puck. Toffoli able to clear it out with under a minute to go in the Vancouver power play. And the Canucks have yet to test Quick with his man advantage. Dan Hanhus to Christopher Higgins. Sends one across. Burrows looking in front. Wrist shot. Loose puck winds up in the corner. Higgins up to Burrows. Gets by him. Martinez playing without a stick. Laying loose in the corner. And the Canucks trying to take advantage. Hanhus sneaking in from the line. Pass comes back to Tanev. 25 seconds to go in the power play. Martinez has his stick back. Puck thrown on goal. Cleared. Held in by Hanhus. 20 seconds to go on the power play. Tanev back to Hamhuis. Pressured by King. Gets the puck to Tanev. Here's Higgins. Wrist shot well wide. Puck ricochets to the right point. Hamhuis holds it in. Down for Bonino. Cuts in front with a shot. And Martinez takes the loose puck and shoots it into his own bench. So the whistle blows just as Stoll steps out of the box, and the Canucks are 0 for 1 on the power play.
Well, the second group on the power play had a couple of chances. Kept the puck in, moved it around, and at least directed it towards the net. This shot, nice save by Jonathan Quick. Low shot, rebound cleared away.
.320 to go in the first. And Hansen gets the puck off the faceoff. Bieksa to Spiza. Bounces one on goal. Horvat gets the rebound. Turns quick. Able to smother that one. As Horvat slid it along the ice.
Get ready for game time with over 100 menu items. Order now at bostonpizza.com for delivery.
This line's had the best chances for the Canucks. They've been going to the net, and I think that's the other lines could take a lesson from this. Here's Cannons. He's right in front of Quick, and that shot gives him some problems.
3:11 to go in the first. Canucks down 1-0. Puck sent out to center by the Kings. Nolan. Hitchin. Bieksa. There you see the Winnipeg score. And they're down to the last seconds. Their Jets going to win. And that ends any hope the Canucks of clinching a playoff spot tonight, but they still dearly like to beat the Kings as things bunch up in the West.
Nolan tries to go by Kevin Bieksa, gets the hip out. Good solid hip check. Andre Pavlich, who played well at times Saturday afternoon, also had a couple that were funny ones. The Daniel Sedin, where he was looking over the wrong shoulder, comes to mind.
Bravada's done that to a few goalies this year. Here's Hansen. Gets around his man on the wing. Yannick Hansen centers. Horvat after the rebound. With Cannons in front as well, but the Canucks couldn't force it past Jonathan Quick. Cannons throws a hit on Clifford. And that brings the building to life. I think we're going to see more and more of this line if it continues playing the way it has. Save for that one shift where they were hemmed in their own zone. Cannons pokes the puck into the LAN, moves in on Matt Green. Cannons gets the puck. Here's Edler towards the goal, shoots. Quick made the save on the short side. Weber ducks one around for Burrows. Back to Yannick Weber. He risks one towards the net, blocked by Green. Henrik Sedin to Yannick Weber. Left point, Hamhuis. Wrist shot. Quick knocked it down. Daniel Sedin gets a loose puck. Quick scrambling back. Burrows from behind the goal. Gets the puck back to Hamhuis. Broke his stick. And here comes Los Angeles. Lewis sidesteps the broken stick. Hamhuis rides him into the boards. But all he could do without a hockey stick. And the Kings didn't wind up with a chance, but they've still got the puck in the Vancouver zone. And Hamhuis still doesn't have a stick. Regier bobbles the puck at the blue line, and Burrows gets it ahead and out. Daniel Sedin backhands it in, and Quick settles the puck for Martinez. Fans are liking the effort late in the period, but the Canucks are still trailing 1-0. Tyler Toffoli gets to the Vancouver blue line. Offside was Carter as Toffoli made an extra move.
This line has played very well. Yannick Hansen goes wide, avoids the check, throws it at the net. Jonathan Quick leaves out a rebound. Ronnie Cannons, I think he learned his lesson after being a healthy scratch on Saturday afternoon.
Meat and potatoes. I think that's what they're looking for.
Get back to your game that got you here in the first place.
Kings win the face-off outside the Vancouver blue line. Muzzin risks one in on Lack, and he'll gather the puck with Toffoli cruising in off the right wing.
This period brought to you by Toyota Red Tag Days. Hurry into your local Toyota dealer for great offers on many 2015 models.
Shots on goal are now 14-13 in favor of the Canucks.
Verbata trying to knock that puck down at center, but Muzzin has it. Gives it away to Higgins. We're in the final minute of the first. The only goal came just over a minute into the first. Bonino steals the puck, rushes it in. Nick Bonino cuts wide, and a wrist shot attempt is off Doughty's stick and wide of the goal. Here come the Kings with numbers. Carter in on the left wing. Jeff Carter with a wrist shot, and Eddie Lack makes his 13th stop on 14 shots and hangs on.
And no rebound. That's what Carter's looking for. It's a 3-on-2. Radim Verbata's coming back, trying to take the trailer, and Carter's just going for a shot, and anybody going to the net, Eddie Lack doesn't give him the chance.
Played a lot in the absence of Ryan Miller. And Lack and his team not getting the results of late as much as they were previous to that. Down a goal in this one. Final 30 seconds of the first. Kopitar gave it away to Hansen, and here he comes to center, trying to go after his own chip, and he gets it, he throws it in front. That was blocked by Matt Green with both Horvat and Kennens open. Now here's Horvat. He bobbled the puck as he tried to send it across. Williams with one last foray into the Vancouver zone. Kopitar puts one on goal. Big rebound. It bounces past Gaborik, and that'll do it for the first. With the Canucks coming on late, but unable to beat Jonathan Quick after Dwight King opened the scoring early in the hockey game. 20 minutes done. A huge matchup in the Western Conference, Brad, and it's the LA Kings leading Vancouver 1-0 after one.
Canucks fans, don't forget to buy your Canucks for Kids Fund 50/50 tickets. You are directly supporting historical beneficiaries, such as the Canucks.
Welcome back to Vancouver. One period in the books. The Kings with an early goal in that period to take a 1-0 lead. Still 40 minutes to go.
Just enough time for John's Fresh Take before we start the second. Fresh Take brought to you by Subway. Eat fresh.
Well, it's fresh when you turn 20 years old, and all of a sudden you are one of the dominant guys for the Canucks. In that first period, Bo Horvat and his line really looked good, played the offensive zone, had some chances, and Jonathan Quick robbed him with that quick shot, and there they are, swarming the LA Kings. And Ronnie Cannon's back after Sven Barchi took his spot. Sven Barchi took his spot on Saturday afternoon, and Ronnie Cannons was part of that fresh look and our fresh take for this game.
1-0 Los Angeles as we start the second period, and Jake Muzzin has the puck. Ahead to Tyler Toffoli. That hit Alex Edler. Puck ricochets back over the LA line, and the Canucks pick it up. Alex Burrows, backhander, quick to save. And now he gives a little jab at Burrows as he was camped at the side of the LA goal.
I like this matchup. The Sedin line against the Carter line. Didn't see much of it in the first period. Alex Burrows just goes by Jonathan Quick, and Quick gives him just a little tug with the stick.
Sedin stay out. Kopitar's line comes on for LA. Daniel Sedin onto the puck. Here's Burrows trying to center. Deflects to the far corner, and it's worked free to Drew Doughty. Ahead for Williams. And he passes to Jake Muzzin. Gaborik tips the puck in, and Edler goes back with Williams shadowing him. Tanev to Henrik Sedin. He'll carry the puck to center. Now moving over the LA line. Henrik around for Daniel Sedin. Back behind for Henrik. Burrows to Henrik. Canucks changing their defense. Henrik tried to find Bieksa off the bench. Now he gets a pass behind the goal again, puts it in front. Burrows, backhand stop. Henrik in the rebound, couldn't jam it home. Canucks hold the puck in. Evan Bieksa in for Daniel Sedin, who kicks the puck up to Henrik. In for Daniel again. Now Bieksa trying to kick the puck himself. Henrik at the side gets the puck behind the goal. Leaves for Daniel. Good shift here for the Sedins. Henrik fanned on his pass, but he's still got the puck. He and Daniel play catch. Now Burrows after it behind the goal. Loose in the corner. Played ahead by the Kings. Williams, though, bodied in the corner by Henrik Sedin. Daniel gets the puck. Here's Verbata. Shoots, and a blocker saved by Quick. Williams just ices it. And this may be timeout time for Daryl Sutter. That was a long shift in the LA zone.
What a save by Jonathan Quick. Corey and Scott Morrison were talking about the Gumby-like athleticism of Jonathan Quick, and a wraparound try, and look at that left pad out, stretching. Another look at it here. Push off the right skate and out. Look at there's the Gumby-like athleticism of Jonathan Quick. Radim Verbata, the wrist shot. That's an easy save from 30 feet out by Jonathan Quick.
No timeout for Daryl Sutter, but he conveniently had Jarrett Stoll on the ice, buying some more time, and the Kings by about 30 or 40 seconds before Williams is ushered back onto the ice.
Delay a game penalty? No.
I'm sure it'll find your way into your coach's challenge. Kopitar trying to move the puck out. And he does, and the Kings a chance for a 2-on-1. Gaborik to Williams, in alone, and he shot it wide. What a chance for Justin Williams, who now heads to the bench as the Kings make their change. Verbata dumps the puck in. Benino's after. Green was there. Now a shot by Higgins is off the glove of Quick. And Dustin Brown starts out for the LA Kings. Checked by Weber. Following up is McNabb, who shoots the puck in. Canucks have the only 4 shots of the period so far. And they're out shooting LA 18-15 in the game. But trailing 1-0, 2.5 minutes into the second. Derek Dorsett tips the puck in. Jannik Hansen on this line. So a little line juggle here for the Canucks, which is interesting given we thought the Horvat line was so good. But now Hansen heads off and Matthias is on. So maybe the Canucks were unsure which line they were putting out there for a moment. Whistle blows.
After that icing call, the Canucks trying to be very aggressive, and when you pinch, you have to make sure, and here's the pinch, and all of a sudden it's a quick 2-on-1 the other way, and Justin Williams, I thought it was offside. Either way, he has a chance and fired it about a foot wide on the blocker side of Eddie Lack.
Hansen out now with his regular line mates. And the Canucks control the puck in their own zone. Tanev's pass is blocked. Puck is centered. Kennan's there to play it to safety. Kings battle to get the puck back. And it's Dwight King working along the boards. Kennans gives him a shove and gets the puck ahead to Hansen. He banks it into the LA zone, trying to get behind Muzzin. Muzzin winds up with the puck behind the net. Taps it around for Toffoli, and here's another odd man rush for LA. Carter in on the right wing. Drops back for the trailer, Doughty. He stops, throws it in front. Toffoli fights off the check of Kennans. Leaves for Doughty. Turning on Horvat. Now the puck thrown back towards the line. Horvat intercepts. And he carries to center and dumps the puck into the LA zone. Lucas Sbisa chases back for a loose puck. And he'll start from behind his own goal. Pass will be exited work, but Jordan Nolan overskated the puck, and here comes Daniel Sedin in on the left wing. Tried to throw one across for Henrik, that was blocked. Canucks digging for the puck. Nolan missed it. Sbisa tried to throw it on goal. Now dumped to center. Glove down by Sbisa, who chips it back into LA territory. Nick Shore for the Kings with a long wrist shot wide of the goal. And we got a penalty in the neutral zone. Jean Hebert has a too many men call.
Well, the Canucks still have 6 guys on the ice.
Oh, they do too. Look at that. Daniel Sedin never left. And the trio of Benino, Higgins, and Verbata were all out there. And the Canucks suffer yet another bench minor for too many players on the ice.
And you can see Willie Desjardins shaking his head. And this time of year, you would think the Canucks would have learned their lesson, but
pretty simple math.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 blue sweaters, and they're all involved in the play.
Second power play for Los Angeles. And a chance to take a 2-0 lead. Hamhuis drives the puck all the way down, and quick will lead for Jake Muzzin. Here's Anze Kopitar. Wristing the puck in from center. Gaborik let it go. Muzzin across. Doughty rolling puck. Drilled it wide. Weber took a swing at it. Couldn't make contact. And Gaborik's able to hook it back to Muzzin. Doughty again. Moves in with a wrist shot. Whistled that one off the target. And that's going to ricochet off the corner boards and all the way down the ice. Canucks able to change all 4 penalty killers. Just over a minute to go on the man advantage. Dustin Brown takes on Tanev, who knocked him down. Mathias winds up with a puck. Kings get it back to Doughty. Mathias out to greet him. Williams takes the pass. Wrist shot off the knob of the goal stick of Eddie Lack. And the puck deflects over the glass and out with 52 seconds to go on the power play.
Well, Dustin Brown, you know when he's coming, he's going to try and hit you, and you can see Tanev sees Dustin Brown, leans on him. Brown tried to fight him off with one hand, and a good check by Chris Tanev. Justin Williams, a right-hand shot, not a bad angle. Probably would have missed anyway, but Eddie Lack gets a piece of it.
Kings send it back. Here's Martinez cutting on goal with a backhander. He chipped it wide of the net. Burrows lost his stick for a moment. Now he's got it back. Puck gets caught up in the official skates a couple of times, benefiting each team. And it's the Kings who benefit the second time and keep it in. McNabb with a long shot, blocked by Tanev. Here's Martinez. 25 seconds to go in the power play. Shot on goal, lacked the save. And he hangs on for the stoppage and play.
Well, that time Chris Tanev did a nice job on Dustin Brown in front of the net. They get position and let his goaltender see it. Alex Edler goes out high, and Chris Tanev right there. Make sure Brown can't get the stick in.
Final 22 seconds of the power play. And here's Doughty to Muzzin. Back to Drew Doughty. Other side, King. Shore's in front. Screening Eddie Lack as King turns in the boards. Now Shore from the corner. To the blue line. Doughty wasn't there. And here comes Verbata onto the ice, serving the bench liner. LA's 0 for 2 on the power play. Still leading 1-0 as Doughty risks the puck in from center. The exit takes control deep in his own zone. Here's Henrik Sedin dropping to Daniel. Cuts it from the wrist shot off the shoulder of Quick. And Lewis comes back the other way. 7 minutes into the second. Trevor Lewis gets to the Vancouver blue line and risks the puck in. Bieksa across to Vey. Verbata tips the puck into the LA zone. Martinez up the middle. Stoll, pass to the side. Nolan, hard feed for Clifford, who deflects the puck forward. After it in his own zone is Mathias, but he's checked by Jordan Nolan. Martinez at the line, dumps one around. Hamhuis intercepts behind the goal. Ahead for Dorsett, who chops the puck to the line. Glove down by Regier. Fans complaining, thought it came out. Long shot by Martinez, losing the crease, and Nolan shoveled it wide of the goal. Weber comes up with the puck, and he gets it out. Kings change it as the Canucks try to move the puck forward. We're 8 minutes into the second. 1-0 Los Angeles. Dorsett tips one onto the right wing. Skates after the puck and chips it around for Mathias. McNabb tied up by Horvat, who's come out to replace Vey. Williams steals the puck. Lead pass. Gaborik has Kopitar in front. Takes the feed. Backhander stopped by Lack, and the rebound put wide by Gaborik. Kings have had some odd man rushes, but it's still 1-0. Bo Horvat dumps the puck in from his own side of center, and that'll be an icing call against Vancouver.
What a great save by Eddie Lack. We saw Lee Stempniak give Eddie the little shuffle and put 1 5-hole on Saturday, and this time Kopitar tries the same thing. It's just a quick little backhand, and Eddie Lack is there to make the save. There's a chance that I thought was offside too, as the rest of the fans here. And
Jordan Nolan with that one, putting it wide from the crease. Now Tanev blocks a shot attempt from the side. Turns with the puck, pressured by King, able to get it to Edler. He threw a dangerous one in front, and the Kings steal the puck. Dwight King to Tyler Toffoli, a swing and a miss. Muzzin holds the puck in, long shot, loose in front, and it winds up in the corner. Carter back to Muzzin. All this pressure after Edler inexplicably threw one up the middle. Toffoli. Checked by Horvat. Toffoli gets the puck back. Hansen finally able to relieve the pressure and get it out. Here's a lead pass to Carter, checked by Tanev. And he looks up ice, finds Nick Bonino. Hansen in front. Kinnins is robbed by Jonathan Quick. Bang, bang, play off the rush. And Ronnie Kinnins was denied.
Oh, what a good read by Jonathan Quick.
Now a turnover, but Spiza gets the puck back. Ahead to Higgins. Here's Bonino towards the goal. Penalty coming up as he was hooked. I think it was Muzzin who got the stick in there. It'll be a slashing call. And the Canucks to the power play when we return.
Pizza Hut's Ultimate Pizza Party is back. Go to Canucks.com/Pizza Hut for your chance to win one of 2 50-inch smart TVs and a pizza party for you and your friends. Pizza Hut, the official pizza of the Vancouver Canucks.
Even better for the Canucks as we take a look at the Ronnie Kinnins chance.
And what a read by Jonathan Quick. He was there before Kinnins even tipped it in. There's the slash by Drew Doughty with the one-hander on the hands of... Boy, that was... I don't know what that one... That was borderline.
That's what I was saying. Even better for the Canucks is the fact it's Doughty, not Muzzin, who was also in the neighborhood trying to check Nick Bonino. And the Canucks get their second power play, and they win the faceoff. Endler with a long shot, ripped it wide. Henrik Sedin looking off the right side. Daniel takes the pass. In for Henrik. Verbata on the other side. Henrik Sedin. Here's Weber. He shoots. Blocked by Trevor Lewis. Canucks set up the chance, but couldn't get the shot through. Henrik again. Edler sneaking in. Now he retreats as Daniel works from the corner. Henrik. Canucks trying to clear it out for Weber. He takes the pass at the blue line. Verbata lets it go. That was blocked by Martinez. Clears the puck ahead. Weber holds it in. Henrik Sedin in front. The pass was blocked. Fans want a shot. Weber passes to Henrik. Down to the goal line. Daniel in for Henrik. And the Kings intercept and clear the puck down the ice.
Makes so much difference when you win the faceoff on the power play. The Canucks won the faceoff and had all that control and couldn't get a shot through.
9 minutes to go in the second. Bonino in with a wrist shot and whistled it wide of the goal. Under a minute to go in the power play. Tanev down to Higgins. Chris Higgins leaves for Burrows. Back to Tanev. Burrows top of the circle. Turning at the blue line. Down the boards. Still with the puck. Here's Hamhuis at the line. Bonino takes a look. Back for Hamhuis. Over to Tanev. No shots. There's one. And that was blocked by Green. Kings, good work by Brown, able to tip the puck out and down. And only 20 seconds remain in the Vancouver power play. Hamhuis brings the puck out. Higgins couldn't handle the pass. Carter's chasing after the puck. Hamhuis gets there first, and Dorsett trying to help out. They to center. Doughty's out of the box. And the puck into the LA zone. Dorsett checks for Gear. Kings get the puck ahead to Carter. He skates it back in his own zone and passes over to Alec Martinez. Both teams 0 for 2 on the power play. Still 1-0 LA. Here's a chance for Toffoli, but he missed the pass as he took a look. And Bieksa works it free to Lucas Spiza. He pulls away from King and feeds ahead to Derek Dorsett, who dumps the puck into the LA zone. 7.5 to go in the second. Dorsett knocked down by McNabb as he went after the puck. And King gets it ahead to Nolan. Drop pass. Shore moves in. Nick Shore with a wrist shot. And Eddie Lack got the shoulder on. Shore gets the puck again. Back to Braden McNabb. He wrists one in front. Big rebound off the pad of Lack, but Sean Mathias is onto it. He skates through center. Hansen on the right wing. Fakes the shot. Tried to step around his man. Edler from the line. In front. Horvat deep. Couldn't get a shot away. Bo Horvat again trying to cut in front. Hooked by Shore. No call. Edler to Horvat on the left side. Puts the puck in front. Tanev trying to step around Clifford. Tanev in deep. Around the net. Clifford takes him off the puck. Green tips it to the near side. And Shore has room to move it out. Yannick Hansen trying to settle that bouncing puck. It's over his stick, and that'll be an icing call against the Canucks. With 6:35 to go in the second. Toronto Raptors heading to the NBA playoffs. They've lost 2 straight, though, against Brooklyn and Boston. They'll try again against Charlotte. 4 o'clock, Sportsnet 360. That game on Wednesday.
Here's Bo Horvat. Tries the deke instead of shooting, and Green just gets it with a skate. And then the Canucks don't get a chance.
They win the draw in their own zone. Daniel Sedin lifts a high one into the LA. And Hansen trying to take the puck away from Muzzin. Now around for Henrik Sedin in front for Daniel. Couldn't get a shot away. Kicks the puck. Doughty intercepts, gets it to Williams. Now Kopitar for Gaborik. And onto the puck is Yannick Weber. Hamhuis ahead to Daniel Sedin. Nicely rinked wide to Henrik. Back for Daniel. Slams one towards the goal. That went off Kopitar's stick, and Jonathan Quick able to adjust, make the save, and hang on. You're watching Canucks hockey live from Rogers Arena.
Have you ever wanted to watch a game from the GM's box or have dinner with a 94 Canucks alumni? Then join Save on Foods Canucks Fan Zone for your chance to win over 1,500 exclusive Canucks experiences and merchandise. Visit any Save on Foods location to earn puck points by purchasing featured products, then redeem those points for a chance to win. Visit SaveOnFoodsCanucksFanZone.com to sign up today.
Be a great thrill to sit with Trevor Linden and watch a game. TC Carling offering his expertise.
He can help you with your short game. TC, I know that. Dustin Brown runs into Sneeze as he moves in. Jared Stoll. Martinez pressured by Higgins, gets the puck to Menino, checked from behind by Stoll as he tried to move in with Radim Bravada. Menino gets the puck again. Daniel Sedin back to Bieksa, down to Daniel, around the net, out the near side, shoots, and Quick, short side covered. There was a little room up top, but he's able to make the save and hang on.
Boy, not much. Jonathan Quick, he's aggressive, as Corey was talking about, but he recovers so well. Okay, he reacts, he's aggressive there, but now look at him recover and get back over. The shoulders are up, the leg is tight to the post. And as you said, John, Daniel would have had to put it right underneath the bar to beat him with that one.
Stays out, along with Henrik and Burroughs for the face-off in the LA zone. And Daniel after the puck on the boards. Kopitar's on him. Muzzin and Henrik in a pretty good battle away from the puck. Now it squirts free to Foley, who lifts it high and down into the Vancouver end. Five minutes left, second period. 1-0 Los Angeles. Dwight King has the only goal of the game. Doughty and Burroughs collide, and Burroughs kicks the puck to Henrik Sedin. Try to get it into the corner for Daniel. That didn't work. Now Burroughs after it, under the check of Carter. Foley took a chop at the puck. Carter gets it ahead to King. And he crosses center before dumping the puck into the Vancouver zone. Daniel Sedin back, works it to Dan Hamhuis and around to Yannick Weber. Long pass ahead. Dorsett tips the puck forward, but from his own side of center. And the whistle blows on the icing.
Get hassle-free auto insurance and more from the friendly folks at Canadian Direct Insurance.
The penultimate Sportsnet game of the season. John Shorthouse, John Garrett, Dan Murphy, Irfan Ghaffar. We'll be back at it Thursday with Arizona here. And then Hockey Night in Canada for the final game. Edmonton Oilers on Saturday. Here's a shot by McNabb off the draw. Clifford after the rebound. Hand use was on him. Puck sent back to McNabb again. Dorsett playing without a stick. Eddie Lack able to track that puck, make the save, and hang on. 4:16 to go in the second. A narrow lead here for LA, 1-0.
Not everybody enjoys a Daryl Sutter press conference. I find them amusing. Today, one of the first questions was if his team has figured out its defense once again because they only gave up 10 shots against Colorado. His first response, well, Vancouver had 42 on us a few weeks back. He also said he doesn't trust those stats as usually the stats guy's pencil is broken. Meantime, the Canucks have 12 more shots than Colorado did 2 days ago.
Shots on goal is one you can usually rely on. Certain ranks, Boston was a little dodgy.
Well, hits and giveaways and blocked shots.
Kopitar broke his stick on the face-off. He gets to the bench, grabs a new one as Edler starts out with a puck. Canucks work into center. Here's Hansen. In with Horvat, and close play.
Well, I think they said Cannons was offside on the left.
4:03 to go, and they'll face off outside the Los Angeles blue line.
This line has looked good. They've been very aggressive. They've had some hits.
Short shift there as Bonino comes out with Higgins and Vrbata.
Most of the teams keep their own stats. They have guys that do the hits and giveaways, don't rely on the league telling them what a hit is or a blocked shot.
Here's Drew Doughty in his own zone. Pass ahead to Gaborik. Higgins trying to keep up with him. Gaborik gets around Higgins and Vrbata. Now it's the Kings complaining about an offside call as the whistle blows at the Vancouver blue line.
Well, they say Kopitar was over before he dragged that puck in, and Kevin Bieksa talking to Kopitar. The problem with the Kings is your shutdown defense. Who do you play them against? Do you play them against the Kopitar line, or do you play them against the Carter line?
Horvat back out to win a faceoff. And this will be an icing call as Cannons deflected that one from the Canucks side of center. 3.5 to go in the second, and a faceoff upcoming to the left of Eddie Lack.
Do you think Daryl Sutter likes the way this period is going now? A lot better than the first, but the shots were 15-14.
Kings gave up some earlier in the period. There's a stick save by Lack on the long shot from Green. Dustin Brown gives the puck away to Bieksa. Ahead for Hansen. Another icing call. Boy, Horvat was busting through center, hoping for the pass from Bieksa, who elected to skate it forward and then wound up icing the puck.
Well, you can see Jannik Hansen pointing to the middle when Kevin Bieksa skated by him. That pass was behind Jannik Hansen.
Horvat on the face-off against Jeff Carter. And wins another one. Bieksa off the glass, out to center. Hansen slides the puck in the LA zone. Cannons has Martinez lined up. Glancing blow. Puck worked ahead to Foley. He heard the footsteps, gave it away. And now it's picked up by Martinez, who skates through center. And another offside call, another close one, as Mark Shuchik blows it down to the Vancouver line.
Didn't have as much problem with that one as the last couple. We've had to choose from so many here in the last 5 minutes of this game. Both teams problems making some passes.
Kings control the puck with just under 3 minutes to go in the period. Drew Doughty steps around Henrik Sedin, takes on the defense, moves in on hand use. Doughty centers the puck. Daniel Sedin intercepts. Burrows can't move it out. Now it comes free to Henrik. Into the middle, Daniel. Weber racing to join him, going to the net. Daniel Sedin centers. Weber deeks off the post. Now it's thrown in front. Henrik Sedin from the corner. Fans still buzzing. Weber was looking for his 10th and put a nice deke to the backhand, but couldn't beat quick. Henrik to Daniel. Tanev in for Henrik Sedin. Leaves for Alex Burrows. 2 minutes to go in the second. Canucks looking to tie the game late. Daniel. Back to Tanev. Handhuse. Tanev again. Good control, but they can't get it to the net. Henrik Sedin from the corner. Double team. Still after the puck. Muzzin moves to check him. Edler moves down from the blue line. Kings Gaborik gets the puck. And it's taken away by Tanev at center. Minute and a half to go. Tanev ahead for Matthias. Quick came out to play it. Icing waved off. And the Kings dump the puck around and out. Edler sends it ahead. Gloved down by Shore. Vey comes up with the puck to Matthias, who took it out of his skates. Now he goes down under the check of Regier. Doughty chops the puck up the boards. And the Kings get it to center. Clifford moving in on Bieksa. Pass comes to Shore, and diving out was Bieksa to knock it away. Matthias gives it away to Regier, though. Final minute. Second period. Still 1-0 Los Angeles. Nolan checked by Edler. Shore gets the puck. Comes out the near side. Here's Regier at the point. And he'll dump it in behind the goal where Edler takes possession. Bieksa will track the puck on the near boards. Final 40 seconds of the period. Bieksa ahead for Matthias. Martinez takes the puck away. Whoa. This one out of play on the Canucks. Dangerously close to too many men on the ice again.
Daniel Sedin to Yannick Weber. He has the right idea. He gets Quick going one way, goes the other way. And look at Quick. He's right on his back. And Weber misses the net. He has Jonathan Quick beaten with that one and just can't get it to the net. Off the outside of the post.
30 seconds to go. Bonino to Higgins. Back for Bonino. Puck deflects to the side. And McNabb has off the glass and down the ice. And the Canucks should get an offensive zone face-off here with 15.6 seconds to go in the second period.
Willie Desjardins changes just one player. Yannick Weber comes out for Lucas Biza.
Bonino against Stoll on the faceoff. Bonino wins it. Handhuse. Down for Verbata. Missed the pass. Bonino reverses. Higgins after the puck. Final 5 seconds. Canucks need to get it to the front. Verbata tried to, blocked by Green. He'll tie up the puck along the boards, and that'll do it for period 2. No scoring in the middle frame. Dwight King's goal still standing up. It came a minute 13 into the hockey game, and Jonathan Quick has stopped all 22 Canucks shots he's faced. LA with the lead, heading to the third. 1-0 here, Brad, at Rogers Arena.
Welcome back to Vancouver. Big 20 minutes on the line here in the third period for the Canucks, who trail the Kings 1-0. Scoring summary brought to you by Panago Pizza. Before, during, or after the game, get a fresh Panago. King, the only goal this game, just came a buck 13 into this one. Bo Horvat still having a solid night in the face-off. Canucks outshot and still down the goal. John?
Murph, thanks. Fans making some early noise here, urged on by the big screen as the Canucks try to find a way to come back.
Shorty, guess how many faceoffs average NHL game has?
How many?
60.
And how many in this one?
51 already after 2 periods. We were talking about the number of icings and the offsides, and already we're at 51 faceoffs after 2 periods.
Kings with the 1-goal lead, and we are underway in period 3. Winnipeg has already won 2-0 in Minnesota. And things are bunching up mightily in the Western Conference standings. Here's Marian Gaborik in. Drop pass. Muzzin broke his stick. Wound up being a changeup that Lack had to stop. Kings hold the puck in. Weber gets to it. Checked before he could dump it around, but now it comes to Henrik Sedin. Pass to Daniel Sedin, who slides the puck into the LA zone. Henrik leaves for Burrows. Quick shot. Jonathan Quick had a little trouble with that.
Boy. I think Jonathan Quick was fooled by Henrik Sedin just letting that one go. It didn't look like he was set. Got his right shoulder up to make the save. Henrik just lets it go right to Alex Burrows. Rolling puck, and Quick reacts late, but able to make the save.
23rd shot he's faced. 2 career shutouts against the Canucks in the 12 wins he's posted versus Vancouver. Spiza dumps one around for Verbata. That's cleared by LA down the ice. No icing. So Lack will come out to settle the puck. And he'll hook it around to Kevin Bieksa. Gave it away as he put a pass into the middle. So Foley and Bonino fight for the puck. Bieksa gets it up the boards. Held in by Carter, but now gloved by Bonino. And he skates to center with a pass to Chris Higgins. He runs into Martinez as he tips the puck to the corner. Bonino digging for it. Kings work it free. Higgins battles to get it back, and he does. Bonino, sharp angle shot. Quick knocked it down with the glove. I think he was expecting the pass through the slot to Verbata, and instead Bonino put it on goal. So Foley starts a change by dumping the puck into the Vancouver zone. Spiza. Pass deflects to Lyndon Vay. He goes across to Tanev, who's under pressure. Now Tanev deep in his own zone, around for Spiza. Edler is waiting at the bench, hoping to come onto the ice as Vay kicks the puck forward, and now it is loose at center once more. Edler on to replace Spiza. 2 minutes into the third, 1-0 LA. Vay turns back in his own zone. Tanev to Edler. Drops to Tanev. Across center for Vay, deflects the puck in and then gets hit by Dustin Brown. Here's a chance in front as Quick was caught out and Matthias couldn't tuck it into the goal. First shift of the period for the Horvat line, and the rookie deflects the puck in behind the LA goal. Kennens can't come up with it. Muzzin ahead to Nolan. Finds some room at center, gets the puck past Handhughes, knocked away by Hanson, but here's Nick Shore with a shot wide of the net. Muzzin risks one on goal, and that's stopped by Lack. Handhughes up the boards, Kennens can't move out. Muzzin again with a shot, Lack the save, and he hangs on.
Good pressure by Derek Dorsett creates this chance, and Sean Matthias just can't catch up with it. Dorsett on Quick, and Matthias has Green just make contact and can't get it towards the net.
Sedin's back out for the defensive zone draw up against Kopitar, Gaborik, and Williams. Kings get the puck. Williams tried a shot. That went off his skate and wide. Handhughes quickly ahead to Daniel. Touch pass to Henrik, who one-hands the puck in and skates after it. Now sidesteps the check from Martinez. Gaborik gets the puck, brings it around. It's past Weber and out to center. Burrows works the loose puck to Handhughes. His pass in the middle, knocked away by Gaborik, and the Canucks are forced back into their own zone. Burrows turns it over. Williams in front. Kopitar centers. Martinez stopped by Lack. Loose puck in front, and Weber able to tip it to the side. That could be a crucial stop for the Canucks. Only time will tell as Handhughes is tripped. And now he's back on his feet with the puck. Nearing the 4-minute mark of the third, and Horvat's line comes right back out. Handhughes to Bo Horvat. Quick shift in the middle. Kennens had the puck knocked away by Carter. And now Doughty passes across to Muzzin. Ahead to King, pressured by Spiza. Kennens in his own zone, being pursued by Jeff Carter. Rides him into the boards, throws it in front, intercepted by Hanson. Jannik Hansen backhands the puck forward. Muzzin takes control. And his pass is off a stick and into the LA bench.
Ian McIntyre was talking about game management in between periods. Now, Okay, that's a trip. There's Jean Hébert right there. That's a trip. Okay, it's a harmless sort of play. It's not a violent contact, but what's the definition of tripping? And Kelly Sutherland's the other referee. The obvious ones. Make the obvious ones.
Power plays are 2 apiece. Neither team has scored.
That's it. Game management. It's a tight game. Don't want to be part of it, but that's just a plain tripping penalty.
Here's Jarrett Stoll. Pass picked off by Bonino. Gets the puck ahead for Higgins. Pressured immediately by Brown. Behind the net, Stoll. Checked by Tanev. Gets the puck to Higgins, and the Canucks have 4 to center. Higgins onto the right wing. Verbata. Slap shot. Quick to save. No rebound. And that's good news for LA because Bonino and Higgins were both going hard to the net.
So Radim Verbata got that one up a little higher than he wanted, and you can see him shaking his head. Not a dangerous shot from the boards, but the rebound would have been dangerous. As you said, John, the Canucks had numbers. They had people going to the net, but Jonathan Quick able to hang on to that one.
Just about 5 minutes into the third. Vey against Kopitar on this faceoff. Martinez checked as he tried to get the puck ahead. Now Clifford can't get it out. Vey down to Dorsey. Wrist one on goal. Blocker saved by Quick, who deflects the puck all the way to center. And Hughes able to poke it free to Weber. Up ahead to Sean Matthias. Stops on the right wing. Checked. Weber holds the puck in, but now Clifford moves it out. Weber steps into it, and here comes Jordan Nolan. Ahead to Nick Shore. In on goal. He turns, and his pass from Martinez was off the mark. Back from the Canucks. Matthias checked at center. Oh, and Nick Shore was thinking
yes,
that.
I got a breakaway, so I'm going to throw it back to the defenseman.
Here's Lucas Spiza. Up ahead for Daniel Sedin. He tips the puck behind the LA goal. Quick out of his net. Near side to Doughty. Up for Jordan Nolan. Pressured by Spiza, but turns away from the check. Loses the puck. Burrows. Knocked down by Kopitar, who reverses up the near side to Nolan, and he turns to skate to center. Sends a long one ahead for Gaborik, who's offside. And the whistle blows. We talked about our next telecast, last one regionally on Sportsnet, and we're on the air Thursday. The Canucks and the Coyotes, our coverage, anchored by Brad Fay, starts at 6:30. Play-by-play action, the Canucks and the Coyotes at 7 here at Rogers Arena. Will the Canucks have a little extra cushion, getting a point or two out of this game, or is it really going to go down to the wire?
Yes. Coyotes coming off a win.
Hold on. Hansen tried a shot, that was blocked. Holding the line nicely as Tanev. Cannons looks in front, passes to Horvat off his skate and wide. Another chance for the Canucks after Tanev held the puck in the zone. Now Doughty knocks the puck out of the air with a high stick. And the whistle blows. Close call around the LA net. Canucks still held scoreless.
You can become a Canucks season ticket member for as low as $59 a month after deposit. Memberships for next season available now, starting with 11-game ice packs. Visit Canucks.com/membership for details.
Here's a play, a good hold in, and Ronnie Ken's throwing, but look at Kopitar come back. And that's the thing with the star players for the Kings. They all play good defense, too. That was a good setup, and Kopitar just able to get his stick in there.
Kings win the face-off in their own zone. Regier from behind the net passes to Dwight King. 6.5 minutes gone in the third. 1-0 Los Angeles. Higgins hit as he tried to play the puck forward. Now Bonino has it to Verbata. Back for Nick Bonino. Knocked away from him. Higgins following up. Sends it in behind the goal. Bonino into the corner. Verbata fighting the puck a bit. Gets it in for Bonino. Slides off his stick. Tanev moves down from the line. Regier goes after the puck behind his goal. Near sides it to Foley. Checked by Edler before he can move it out. Now Tanev will move down from the right point. Puck is by him. And the Kings work it out to center onto the stick of Alex Edler. Tanev to Edler. They play catch again, and Edler sends one ahead to Henrik Sedin. He cuts to the middle. Henrik drops. Weber shoots, and it just went wide, tipped in front. Burrows after the puck to Henrik Sedin, left point. Edler wrists one wide, puck it, Burrows in the skate. Penalty coming up here to the Kings. Or is it Burrows? Green and Burrows were tied up. I think it's Matt Green heading to the box. And the Canucks get a power play here in the third.
Oh, nice rush by Alex Edler. He forces everybody back. Henrik drops it back to Weber, whose shot hits Alex Edler's shin pad, just goes wide. Now Green loses his stick, and so what's he do? Both arms right around Alex Edler, and he's going to take the holding penalty.
Third power play for the Canucks, which in recent weeks has scored big goals at crucial times, which has not been the story of the entire season. Can it get one here? Starting with the second unit after the Sedins played the last shift. Kings have the puck. Canucks slow to react. At 3-on-2 LA. Burrows is hurt behind the play as a shot goes wide, but Alex Burrows stays out there. Boy, were the Canucks slow coming back there, and now they can't come up with the puck. Brown works it in on the right wing. And just plays keep away here. Finally, Tanev collects the puck behind the goal with 30 seconds already elapsed and the penalty to Matt Green. Higgins sidesteps Doughty. Bonino did a good job to stay onside. Burrows to Hanhus. Down to Alex Burrows. Goal line feed. Higgins puts it in front, loose at the side. Bonino rings the puck around for Dan Hanhus. Here's Bonino. Cross for Tanev. Puck is off his stick. Hanhus holds it in. Tried to feed the high slot. Doughty intercepts, clears the zone, and the first unit will start to make its way on for Vancouver.
Still a minute left.
Edler starts out. Drops for Henrik Sedin. He carries in right up the gut. Takes on the defense. Trying to backhander. Puck knocked to the corner, and Muzzin makes no mistake. Although he put it into the Vancouver bench. And that should keep the face-off in the LA zone.
You're wondering why Alex Burrows was feeling a little pain. Here comes Dustin Brown. A little shot in the ribs and kidneys.
They're discussing where the face-off should be. The officials are pointing to the dot outside the blue line. You'd think it would be in the zone. It was shot from the corner and wound up in the Vancouver bench. And now what do we have? Kelly Sutherland explaining, and the face-off, in fact, is going to come outside the...
It's going to be at center ice.
Right at center ice, okay.
No, it's going to be right in front of the Canuck bench.
.40 seconds to go on the power play. Just about 9 minutes into the third, 1-0 LA. Puck comes to Edler off the draw, sends it ahead. Daniel Sedin pokes it past Doughty, who skates back, gets the puck, sends it off his stick, held in by the glove of Yannick Weber. Onto the right wing, Radim Vrbata down to Daniel Sedin. Daniel into the corner for Henrik. Near corner, Vrbata back for Henrik. Centers, Daniel put it wide. Vrbata to Henrik Sedin again. Back to Weber, one-timer, stick save, rebound, Henrik to Edler. Here's Weber. Alex Edler, Yannick Weber, Henrik Sedin, 5 seconds to go on the power play. Henrik puts one off the stick of Regier. Daniel Sedin after the loose puck. Into the corner for Henrik. Penalty's over. Kings back to full strength. Weber with a drive that was blocked, and it ricochets off Stoll and out to center. Canucks are 0 for 3 on the power play. Still trailing 1-0 as the Sedins move in. Henrik towards the goal. Round the net. Now centers. Daniel shoots. He scores! 700 assists for Henrik Sedin, and Daniel ties the game at 1.
What a beautiful play by Henrik Sedin, back against the grain after a long power play. LA killed it off. Henrik looks like he's going all the way around behind and then throws a backhand pass out to Daniel, and this time Quick can't get out fast enough. Quick's down right by the post, turned over his left shoulder just for a second, and that's why he couldn't get out fast enough. to take the shot away from Daniel Sedin. And what a beautiful shot this is. Top corner glove side.
9:54, the time of the equalizing goal. Daniel Sedin with his 18th. And a winner on score and win for Safeway. From Vernon, Sherlyn Stewart. You've won a Bradley 4-burner stainless grill.
Daniel had that chance on the power play, the only real good chance that the Canucks had with the man advantage.
Standing ovation for Henrik Sedin as they announce his 700 assists. And they'll announce it over the PA as well. Dorsett holds the puck in the LA zone. Taking a turn here for Ronnie Kennens as Derek Dorsett. Hansen's pass escapes the zone. Bieksa has the puck, feeding Lucas Spiza. His feed for Hansen off the mark. They're going to call this icing.
Are you kidding me?
Fans are into it now.
What a play by Henrik Sedin. Look at Jonathan Quick just for a second, looked over his left shoulder. And by doing that, he wasn't able to come out to the top of the crease, and Daniel had a little room high glove side. Here's what you're talking about. John Henrik Sedin climbing 52nd.
Spiza sends one off the glass and out to center. There's a long shooting. Wouldn't have counted. Brown was offside, but Eddie Lack makes the save. And now the reaction as they do announce the milestone assist once more. 1-1 tie, just over 9 minutes to go in the third. Verbata, sharp angle shot. Higgins hit the post! Oh my goodness, 2 games in a row, Chris Higgins. Here's a shot by Kopitar wide of the goal. Higgins had a chance to tie it in Winnipeg with the extra attacker on the ice on a setup in front. Beat Andre Pavlik and hit the post, and here he narrowly avoided making it 2-1 Vancouver. Long shot by Weber, steered to the corner by Quick. Drew Doughty. Watched by Henrik Sedin. Kopitar takes the lead pass. Henrik hounding him from behind. Burrows winds up with the puck now. Henrik to Daniel. To the corner. Henrik's after. Puts it across in front. Puck winds up at the left point. Edler's there. Round for Daniel Sedin. Regier intercepts. Can't get it by Henrik in the corner. Daniel in after the puck. Now Henrik gets it along the boards into the corner for Daniel. Back up to Henrik. Pass to Daniel. Sedin's owning the puck here in the third. Henrik spins to get away from Regier. Goes round the net. Now feeds Daniel on the left wing. In behind for Burrows. Yes, there are other players on the ice. Henrik turning on Regier again. Banks the puck to himself off the back of the goal. Kings clear to the line. Held in by Edler. Canucks purposeful here in the third. Hemming the Kings in their own end. Finally, the puck is iced. And the fans are appreciating what they see at Rogers Arena tonight.
John, you talked about Chris Higgins, that chance he had in Winnipeg on Saturday afternoon. Here's another one. A rebound off Jonathan Quick. Off the post again. This one wasn't as hard. This was the outside of the post compared to the one on Saturday.
Kings clear off the faceoff. Vey has the puck at center. He moves back in. The former King with a wrist shot. Big rebound off the blocker of Quick. Nick Shore is there to clear the puck to center. Spiza puts it back in offside with the Canucks tag up. Jake Muzzin to Tyler Toffoli. He finds some room on the right wing. Wrist shot lacked the save. Rebound taken by Spiza. And he works the puck to the far side. Chips it ahead. Here comes Lyndon Vey. King trying to check him from behind. Vey slows, backhands the puck in behind the goal and heads to the bench. Under 7 minutes to go in the third. Good game here in Vancouver. Bo Horvat chasing back for a puck, and he wins the race to get the icing whistle. And a face-off in the LA zone. Dan.
Well, guys, shop at Safeway today. Watch future Sportsnet telecasts, and you could win an all-inclusive trip for 2 to a Grand Bahia Principe Resort, courtesy of redtag.ca, where Canada shops for great travel deals.
He didn't like the start, I don't think, Willie Desjardins, but he's liked the last 2/3 of this hockey game for sure. 6:41 to go, 1-1 tie. Jannik Hansen puts one towards the goal. Quick never saw it, but it went well wide.
Never moved.
Horvat works his way to the corner. Brings the puck out front. Winds up behind the net. Kings work it to Dwight King, and he backhands it out. Hansen first man back. And LA completing his change as Dan Hamhuis takes possession of the puck. Canucks will change as well as the Bonino line comes back onto the ice. Hamhuis to Weber. Ahead for Vrbata, who deflects the puck in. Green up the far boards. Brown pressured by Higgins. Puck comes to Vrbata. Stick handling in traffic. Higgins with a quick shot. Didn't get through. Bonino put it between the legs on the backhand, and Quick wasn't biting on that. He made the save, but he's given up one, and it's a tie game.
Chris Higgins has had some bad luck around the net, and Saturday afternoon, late in the game, goalie out. He has a chance off the heel of a stick off the inside of the post, and then tonight with the score tied, rebound. Off the stick, off Drew Doughty's stick, and then off the post, and can't buy one.
The Henrik Sedin Love Fest continues here. Another standing ovation as he comes out for his first shift. After the milestone point, he fanned on a pass at center, but he gets the puck and feeds it to Alex Edler. Tanev to Burrows. Backhands one to the left wing corner. Henrik Sedin is there. Daniel from behind the goal. Pulling away from Kopitar. Down for Henrik. Doughty's on him. Henrik knocked down. Plays the puck with his glove. Johnny Bear is going to bring the face-off outside the line, and Henrik may be lucky he's not going to do more after it looked like he put his glove right over the puck.
Well, here's Alex Burrows. We've talked about when he gets involved, he's a much better player, and he's been involved, especially lately. Takes Muzzin down with a little hook there, and Henrik Sedin gets hammered by Drew Doughty. And I think, John, that's probably why there's no penalty either way. Don't call the cross-check, and then you don't call the covering the puck.
Canucks win the face-off outside the LA blue line. Spiza to Higgins, who backhands the puck in. Vrbata after it in the corner. Fanned as he tried to throw it in front. Dwight King tips it out. And Bieksa back up for Vrbata. Winds up on the stick of Toffoli and back to Braden McNabb. Under 5 minutes to go, third period, 1-1 tie, and Bonino sends one in on Quick. Matt Green. Now here's Toffoli in center. Plays the puck in gently. Bieksa goes back. Dorsett taking another turn here with Hansen and Horvat. Kennens came out for the last one, but this is the second in 3 shifts for Derek Dorsett. Hansen off his skate, turns and backhands the puck in. Martinez up the middle. Shore relays the puck to Jordan Nolan. He moves in on the right side, sends one across. Hansen on the back check, tipped the puck away. Regier moves down for the blue line. 4 minutes remaining in the third. Weber can't get it by Clifford, and the puck comes through to Lack, who covers it up. He'll get the whistle, and we'll step aside. Anybody's game with under 4 minutes to go. The Canucks won and the Kings won. Stay where you are.
Canucks Hockey. Brought to you by Subway. Build your own comfort at Subway with a heartwarming ham melt and tomato basil soup combo. Subway. Eat fresh.
This city didn't see playoff hockey last year. Canucks trying to force their way back in, and somebody's had time on their hands. Look at that headline.
Yes. It is the era of the stats, the advanced Dorsey, and look at the hits, look at the penalty minutes, the fighting majors, and career high and everything for Derek Dorsett this year. Contract year.
Alex Burrows hops onto a loose puck. Gets to center and backhands it in. Quick elects not to come out and play that one. Burrows lost his balance moving it. But now he's onto the puck behind the net. Daniel. Henrik at the side. Leaves for Daniel in the corner. Leaves for Henrik. Moving towards the goal. Centers for Burrows, and that was kicked away by the right pad of Jonathan Quick. Back comes Jarrett Stoll with a long shoot in right into the chest of Eddie Lack, who hangs on. Whistle blows. Sportsnet Central after the game. Here Jamie Thomas and Jackie Redmond with a preview.
Well, John, the Jets do the not good part for the Vancouver Canucks by winning in St. Paul. I almost forgot what I was going to say there.
And the Blue Jays opened their season in the Bronx. It was a memorable one.
Thanks. We'll look forward to that. We know you'll lead with the Canucks. Not the Blue Jays.
No. They're in first place.
Justin Williams fighting for the puck. Gaborik there as well for LA. Verbata able to get the puck out. Martinez at his own blue line. Feeds over to Robin Regeer. Now Gaborik. Pass to Kopitar. Puck knocked off his stick, but he chases after it in the corner. Tanev there first. Works it free to Bonino. Ahead to Verbata. Joining the rush is Edler. Back to Verbata. Edler going to the net. So is Higgins. The shot from Verbata goes wide, and now the Canucks have to hustle back. Edler's up in the play. Covering for him is Bo Horvat. And Edler's back into his own zone now and onto the puck behind the goal. Kopitar trying to check him. Edler keeps after the puck. Horvat gets it around to Verbata, who tips it out to center. Green sends the puck back in. Edler fanned on it. Here's Jeff Carter. Pass comes all the way back to the line. King down the boards. Puts one in front, and that deflects to the far side. McNabb behind the net for Carter. Kings haven't had sustained pressure in a while, but they're on the puck in the Vancouver zone. Toffoli puts one in front. Horvat intercepts, can't clear. Green to the high slot. King tries a wrist shot. That's off his stick and off the glass. Here's Carter. Leaves. Toffoli with a shot. That hit Edler in the midsection. He falls down in discomfort. Whistle blows with a minute 56 to go.
Discomfort or fatigue. They couldn't get off the ice. Green took that puck at center ice and just threw it in, and the Canuck defense couldn't change. And Alex Edler and Chris Tanev were out there for a double shift. Here's a shot and collapses Alex Edler in front.
King helped as well.
Little help.
Stoll against Henrik Sedin on the face-off, under 2 minutes to go. Both teams desperate to get anything out of this game. 1-1 tie. Henrik Sedin wins the face-off. Bieksa skates to the puck. Ahead for Daniel Sedin, who tips it to center. Doughty sends the puck the other way. Daniel trying to settle it. Checked by Lewis. And here's Brown moving in. Tried to put one on goal. Blocked by Bieksa. Brown again. Fanned on his shot attempt. Now he plays the puck to Doughty, who turns and shoots. And the puck covered by Lack. Spiza, without the helmet, was battling in front. And I'm not sure Eddie Lack ever saw that puck.
Trevor Lewis all tied up with Lucas Spiza. And Drew Doughty does such a nice job of getting the pucks through. Dustin Brown fanned on it. Doughty spins, changes the angle just ever so slightly. I think it hit Spiza in the back before it got to Eddie Lack. Oh, it went right straight through. Eddie Lack in good position, made the save.
Kings, the better team the last couple of minutes, and they're onto the puck again. Muzzin with a shot, kick up in the left pad of Lack. Dan Hamhuis gets the loose puck ahead for Higgins, who tips it out. Muzzin to Williams. Puts one wide of the goal. Hamhuis gets to the puck up for Higgins, who tips it out to center again. Just over a minute to go. LA's been pressing the last few shifts, trying to get the go-ahead goal. Muzzin works his way to center. Gets around Verbata. Now plays the puck to Gaborik. Through for Williams. Turning on the boards. Williams shakes free from Verbata. Final minute. Pass comes across. Kopitar picks up the puck in the corner. Hooks it back to Regier. He dumps the puck in deep. Bonino able to poke it away from Gabbert. Toffoli's onto the ice. Gabbert from the corner. Now Kopitar being watched by Weber. Anze Kopitar dumps the puck around. Higgins will hustle after it. Doughty moves down on him. Higgins able to chop the puck out to neutral ice. 25 seconds to go. Here's Toffoli. Puck comes back to Regier. Over to Tyler Toffoli. He plays it in from center. King hustles after the puck. Tanev there, but King takes it away. 10 seconds to go. Tanev knocks the puck to the end boards. It's thrown in front, loose at the side. Played to the corner by Edler. Hansen gets it out. And this regulation portion of the game will come to an end. Daniel Sedin, set up by Henrik's 700th career assist. They got one by Quick, and they'll go to overtime, tied at 1.
Well, a come-from-behind point for the Vancouver Canucks. The first 2 minutes, Kings all over the Vancouver Canucks. Shots rate to 2 at one time, and Dwight King tips that one in. A nice pass into here. Look at this pass by Henrik Sedin. Backhand out to Daniel and Jonathan Quick. His only mistake. Didn't quite get out far enough to get that rising shot.
Canucks are 5-3 in overtime this season, not including shootouts. Their most recent experience against Dallas, a losing one, thanks to John Klingberg.
Coming late, and Eddie Lack, that's one that he, after the game, said, well, maybe I should have had that one. Klingberg shot, and you could see from his reaction, didn't like it one little bit.
All 3 overtime winners against the Canucks have been scored by defensemen, Klingberg the latest. Los Angeles would be in the playoffs easily, if not for what you see there. 3-14 overtime and shootout combined. And the Kings, if they were even 50% better in those disciplines, wouldn't be fighting for their playoff lives right now. But they have a chance at 2 points in this one as they take the Canucks to overtime here at Rogers Arena.
Their last overtime game was against Anaheim, and Ryan Kessler beat them with an overtime wrist shot.
We know what the Sedins have done through the years. And Henrik already has an assist in this game. Daniel, 3 overtime winners this season already. 3 of the 5 the Canucks have scored.
Talking about the consistency of both of them this year, Henrik has gone 4 games without points twice this year, only twice. And Daniel, his longest stretch is 3 games. And that's only once this year.
Eddie Lack against Jonathan Quick. And we're set to go 4-on-4 overtime. Each team has a point, much to the dismay of the others battling them for those final spots in the Western Conference. Muzzin feeds across his own zone to Drew Doughty. Daniel steals the puck, leaves it for Henrik. To the blue line, Edler. Open is Tanev. He moves down, shoots up high. Chris Tanev had an overtime winner against Calgary this year. One of the 2 in his career, but that shot went off the glass and out.
I wonder if Chris Tanev was listening to Gary Volk in between periods. Because Volke was talking about, well, Chris Tanev on the power play has to shoot more. There he had a chance to shoot, let it go. Didn't hit the net.
21 seconds gone in overtime. Bonino comes out with Verbata. Kopitar, Williams for the Kings. Kopitar wins the faceoff. Martinez pressured behind the net. Puck comes free. Bonino shovels it to the side. Here's Verbata. Wrist shot. And Cook lost his stick but was able to make the save. Canucks will try to keep the puck in. Jonathan Quick without his goal stick. Regier works it to Williams. He's pressured but able to beat the heat and carry out. Bonino was going to change, but he stays on. As Kopitar moves in, Williams tried to send it across. That was blocked. And here comes Radim Verbata. Up to Nick Bonino. Spies is on the rush as well. Bonino's pass knocked away by Kopitar. And nothing materialized on that rush. Muzzin the other way. Jake Muzzin across to Carter. Wrist shot. Lack the save, and he hangs on.
Boy, oh boy. If that would have gone in, John, the Canucks would have had a case for too many men on the ice. As Jeff Carter jumped over,
Took the pass.
Took the pass, and there had to be 5 to maybe 6 guys still on the ice. Okay, here's the change. Now the Kings, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, and Carter takes the pass. Why is there not too many men on the ice? We'll get a better look at it here. Eddie Lack makes a great save, but to me, that's too many men on the ice.
Stays 4-on-4. We're just over a minute into overtime. Dan Hamhuis, nicely to Yannick Weber. He moves in with speed on the right wing. Slap shot, quick out to challenge. Well out. Makes the save, and he hangs on to the puck.
That's one of the things that you have to admire about Jonathan Quick is the way he reads the game and sees that Yannick Weber's got no play. Everybody else is covered, so he has to shoot it. And look at where he is. Not going to beat him from there.
Weber can hum it. And he leaned into that one. Horvat out with Hansen. Kopitar against Horvat on the faceoff. Still lots of time to go. If this thing goes the full 5. Another win for Kopitar. Muzzin has the puck. Jake Muzzin picks his way to center. Now throws one across to Drew Doughty. And you stepped into him, but the puck comes around to Kopitar. Now Carter shoots and Lack. Second stop in succession off Jeff Carter, able to hang on.
Usually you see Kopitar and Gabrick in the 4-on-4 situations, and Daryl Sutter has switched it up. Good protecting the puck by Kopitar, gets it out to Carter, but not a very good angle, and Eddie Lack's right there.
Gabrick's out now, but he's with the rookie Nick Shore. Bonino and Verbata for the Canucks up front. Bonino hooks the puck to the side, picks it up himself, and now plays it back for Chris Tannen. Verbata starts out with the puck. Gains center and rings it around to the near side. Bonino pressuring McNabb, who wheels behind the net and skates out to center. Braden McNabb to Marian Gaborik, wide on Edler. Now chips the puck to the near board, skates onto it himself. Verbata took the puck away. Tanev moved it out to center. And Shore passes back into his own zone. Alec Martinez waiting for the Kings to finish their change. Kopitar's back out there. Gaborik staying on for the moment. But now he heads to the bench and is replaced by Justin Williams. Martinez in on the left side. Hooks one in front. Williams couldn't get the shot through. Bieksa tips the puck to the side. Here comes Chris Higgins to Kevin Bieksa. Here's Alex Burrows. Wrist shot stopped by Quick. Muzzin gets the loose puck. Leaves for Kopitar. Does a 360 to get away from Henrik Sedin. Kopitar in. Drop pass. Williams puts one in front. That was blocked by Bieksa. And Henrik Sedin gets to the loose puck. Under 2 minutes to go in overtime. Bieksa takes the lead pass. In with Daniel Sedin. Kevin's been out there a while. Now he's deep in the LA zone. And the Kings are trying to break out, but holding the line was Hamhuis. Daniel Sedin brings the puck back to center, gives it to Henrik. Over to Hamhuis. He moves in on the left wing, slides the puck to the corner. Carter drops it around for McNabb. Didn't like what he saw, so he'll pass the other way to Doughty. Minute 20 to go in overtime. Carter's back out. He's had a couple of shots in sudden death. Passed it to Foley. Wrist shot blocked by Hamhuis. Foley gets the puck once more to the blue line for Regeer, but out of his reach. And now Regeer being pursued by Jannik Hansen. Waiting is Edler. Down for Hansen. Final minute of overtime. Tanev at the point. Wrist one on goal. Easy save for Quick as Horvat was being boxed out by Robin Regeer.
Henrik and Daniel Sedin, their last shift on the 4-on-4, they never touched the puck. And that's the thing is, you get that first shift in the 4-on-4 and Henrik and Daniel are so good, but they usually stay out for a minute to a minute and a half like we saw in Chicago when they cashed in. And then your next shift don't have a whole lot left.
Bonino wins the draw. Alex Edler to Chris Tannen. Dumps one around, hoping to find Verbata. It's cut off by Doughty. And he feeds in front of his own goal for Muzzin. Dustin Brown to Anze Kopitar. He's been out there almost the whole overtime, Kopitar. And here he comes with the puck, backing up the defense, turning on the boards, dishing back, and Henrik Sedin was able to tip that puck out. Daniels coming over the boards now to join his brother as Muzzin plays the puck back into Vancouver territory. 20 seconds to go in overtime. And here come the Twins. Henrik delays. Here's Daniel to Henrik. And lost control of the puck. Kings have it. Lewis from deep in his own zone. And this game is going to go to a shootout. Tied at 1. Eddie Lack, Jonathan Quick putting on a show at Rogers Arena in Vancouver.
Shots are 38-37 in a 1-1 tie. Don't see that a whole lot, John. Goaltenders, as you say, both very, very good in this one.
Canucks' last shootout was stop number 2 of the 4-game road trip, a successful one in Nashville against Pekka Rinne.
Well, Nick Bonino with the quick forehand up and over Pekka Rinne in tight. Philip Forsberg stopped by Eddie Lack just to put an exclamation point. He kicked out the rebound and Radim Verbata, the backhand up and over Pekka Rinne and off the post and in.
Canucks 5-2 in shootouts. You saw the Kings record earlier, 2-7. And we'll likely see Bonino and Verbata to lead it off again. Eddie Lack has allowed 4 goals on 13 and has a record of 3-2. And the Kings just haven't been able to get it done in either overtime.
And you look at Anze Kopitar. Would you think that? 1 out of 8.
Canucks will hope it's not the law of averages, that they can keep the Kings struggling in this discipline as the fans start to come to their feet. Nick Bonino is going to lead it off.
I like Nick Bonino. He studies his shootout plays and the goaltenders.
9 for 19 in his career. In on Quick. Bonino slid it wide.
And you
tried
can
to
see,
go along the ice.
You can see Quick looking back at him as Nick Bonino had Jonathan Quick dancing. Nick Bonino just slides it, and you can see Quick. He is completely stretched out, lots of open area, and just slides it wide.
Jeff Carter, 2 of 8. He moves in with speed right up the middle. And Lack stopped him with a blocker.
Surprising that Jeff Carter shoots a lot. There's Eddie's mom cheering him on. With his reach, I think he'd deke more, but he shoots almost all the time. Eddie Lack reads it, stays right with him. Right arm up, blocker side, makes the stop.
One of the all-time leaders in shootout goals for a career is Radim Verbata. He'll come in off the left. Stopped by Quick, who stayed with him, and Verbata couldn't get it up high enough.
Boy, what a stop by Jonathan Quick. Radim Verbata comes in, fakes backhand, then goes forehand, and Quick stayed right with him. Glove up, pad down, stick down. Not much to shoot at.
It seems only fitting that so far the goaltenders are the dominant ones in the shootout. After the performance they put on through 65 minutes, now it's on to Lack against Kopitar. Stopped him!
Boy, oh boy, we saved ourselves on Twitter there, Shorty, by Kopitar not scoring, because we would have been accused of the reverse whammy. Eddie stays right with him and closes down, stick down. Kopitar tried to slide it 5-hole, and Eddie made the save.
We would have, would we?
Well, you never read Twitter. You told me that.
Chris Higgins will try to open the scoring in round 3. He's going to come off the left as well. Cuts to the middle. Deeks scores!
Oh, very nice. We saw Chris Higgins use his same move his last shootout, and he shot it over the crossbar. This time, just with the quick backhand. Quick's down, not much to shoot at, and Higgins just finds enough room, get it up and over the glove.
The Eddie chants are in full throat. Higgins all smiles with Kevin Bieksa, and Marian Gaborik must score. Canucks win!
There you go.
They come from behind in the third period, win it in a shootout. And 2 huge points for the Vancouver Canucks, who solidify their bid to make the playoffs.
And the Lack dance. Marian Gaborik tries to get Eddie Lack to go with them. He doesn't. He stays right in the middle. Glove up, able to play it off the webbing. And Eddie Lack, who had a subpar game, I would say, on Saturday afternoon, bounces back. That's what number 1 goalies do, is play a game that you think, oh man, I wasn't up to my usual standard. You come back with a great one like Eddie had this.
Mamma mia indeed. Eddie Lack, 36 saves through 65 minutes. 3 more in the shootout. And here's Mom's reaction as Gaborik moved in. That's awesome. John, your 3 stars.
Oh, Henrik Sedin and Daniel have both played so well these last few weeks, and Henrik with the 700th assist, the pass to Daniel. Jonathan Quick kept his team in it, especially the last 2 periods. And how about Eddie Lack? After the first goal goes in, just shut it right down.
An emotionally charged night at Rogers Arena. A team that has dominated the Canucks for so many games over so many years. But after beating the Kings at Staples Center a few weeks ago, the Canucks do it again at home. A massive victory coming from behind. Vancouver in a shootout. 2 on the final. Sportsnet Central is next.